Appreciate everybody being here, first of all. Very frankly, some of you have maybe heard me use the term relentless joy. There's the definition tonight. It could not be probably a better definition of it. We played for one another. We played with incredible effort and energy and juice, as we like to say, and we did it for one another, and we did it against a very good opponent, and obviously we're really happy with tonight's performance. We didn't do certain things well, and as a coach, you always are disappointed when you get out rebounded offensively. But to have 10 turnovers and force 18, we feel really good about that. And to hold a team of Princeton's caliber to 7% shooting in the fourth quarter and shut them out for about 7 minutes of the fourth quarter really speaks to our conditioning level and to the way that we're playing. I'm obviously really thrilled. This is a statement win for our program in game one, and we have a lot more basketball to play this season. But this is certainly one of the better wins that we've had in my lengthy time here at Duquesne.
Dan, you talk about a 10-minute defensive performance of your life. Just what was it like just seeing their energy level down, and you're just hitting your stride, stop after stop, rebound after rebound, play after play?
They had certain players that really betrayed their exhaustion. You could see it. We would talk about it in the huddle. They're exhausted. They were done. Some of their players. And so when every possession you've got someone in your face trying to turn you, it's just not a fun way to play if you're on the other team. It's just not a fun way. And so if we get a bucket and we're coming right at you, that wears on you. And I don't have the stats, but one of our stats that we'll track is how long it takes you to get the ball over half court after a made basket. And I would be willing to bet in the third and fourth quarter, that it took them 6 and 7, even 8 seconds to get it over half court the majority of the time. That's talking about our conditioning level. It's talking about us being able to really defend them on the ball. We didn't get as many tips from behind as I would like, but you could tell that they could feel the breath of our defenders coming, and they were looking behind to see where it was coming from. So that is a win in a sense, and I couldn't be more pleased with what we did defensively.
You mentioned the Fight Club analogy to me at Media Day, and now the secret is very much out, Dan. Just what was it like to see it finally executed under the lights in front of a crowd tonight?
That's a great question. We have been beaten up on our male practice squad, who are awesome guys, and Trey. Trey comes to practice also, and we've been beaten up on them, and we've been just really waiting to play against someone else that was a woman. Instead of a bunch of dudes, and we did it against a team that is a great program. They're not just a good team, they're a great program, and we were ready for the game. I think you saw in the first 4 minutes we all had a little bit too much of that juice. That's from me down to our male practice players that were helping being our student managers. We all had maybe a little bit too much there, but when you can play the way that we played today and hold a team of Princeton's caliber to 66, you have to feel really good about yourself. And we always preach, get to the fourth quarter and they're going to be exhausted, and that proved its point tonight.
We knew Megan McConnell was going to have a good night, but going 24 in the season opener and being able to turn it on when she did, what was that like to see?
She really did turn it on. I didn't really think about it in those terms, but she did. She turned it on in the fourth when we really needed her to. Against a really good pack line defensive team, she was able to get to the rim almost at will, which is really great to see. She shot the three well, which shows all the work that she put in this summer to expand her range and really shoot the three at a very high percentage. Obviously, she didn't shoot any free throws this summer. But I joke because I know Meg's going to knock those down when the time comes. To play in this kind of system and play 36 minutes, I don't want to play Meg 36 minutes. She was physically exhausted, so I'll take those missed free throws as my fault.
You talk about the relentless joy during a game. I'd imagine that your coaching duties sort of occupy you from being necessarily the one to bring that So do you turn into players and to be your leaders in terms of upholding that philosophy between the whistles?
I write it on my hand on the Palm Pilot, and one of the things I write on the Palm Pilot is high fives, smiles, and feedback. And so it's really important that high fives and connecting with your players really matter. Giving them feedback after they've come out and they've sat for 30 seconds and trying to give them feedback. And then just smiling. Positivity reigns. And if it doesn't, it has to start with me for it to filter down to everyone else. And I think that you guys can see that they have taken that and ran with it, and they own that. The team owns that. They really are playing for one another.
You talked before last season about just the ability that Ramey had, and in really tough moments, she really showed it tonight. That and one might have been her signature play here. Just what have you seen from her and from so many others that have stepped up and have been allowed to step up because of this system?
Ramey's a perfect fit for this system, and last year we expected this kind of year out of her, and it didn't work for a variety of reasons. Some of them not her fault. And, Ramey has come to work every day and practiced really well and been a really good practice player. She did that last year and it didn't work in the games. It works in the games now. And she's been really good, really excited for what she does. And that is her sweet spot. To play 14 minutes and be 3 for 3 with 6 points, 2 assists, no turnovers, and then really good ball hawking defense. She had at least 2 deflections. Really happy with her performance tonight. And so when you bring Raina and Nadia and Ramey and Faith, really anyone in that second group. So what I've said is I've stolen this from the Denver Nuggets. You've got a really experienced group as your starting 5 who have a little chip on their shoulder for maybe some of the slights that they had at a previous institution, and they're hungry. But then you have this next group of 7, 8 kids that have the juice. They're all young. They don't know what they don't know. They still don't know some of the rules. I had to tell them today that you can about free throws, and then also about about timeouts late in the game so we can advance it. They don't know those rules. They're high school kids. So they bring that juice, and that juice is just very simply they fly around. They fly around. They're going to try to get a tip from behind. They're going to try to get a deflection. They're going to try to get a steal, and when you sub in, we don't really lose anything. We actually kind of add in some ways.
I don't know if you noticed it. I'm sure you did, but it felt, I've never heard this amount of excitement from the fans for a season opener, probably men's or women's. What was that like for you?
I think it was awesome. I didn't hear a thing. I think it was awesome. I'm glad that you told me. I love our fans. I really do appreciate them. But people talk to me about hey, they played Renegade, and I'm like, I don't hear anything. I'm so locked into just hearing my player's voice or my assistants' voices. My assistants will tell you that I don't hear their voices enough. But I really didn't hear the fans. But we had a great crowd out there, and they were really boisterous. And this is, let's face it, fan friendly. This is fun to watch. This is not 35 to 42. This is, we're coming right at you on every single possession, offensive and defensively. And that's fun to watch.
Coach, you mentioned Nadia, sorry.
That's okay.
It seemed like every time there was a loose ball or a rebound up for grabs, she was right in the mix there. What do you have to say about her performance tonight?
That's the person that she's been since the day she's arrived on campus. That's the way she's played every practice of every day. And Nadia plays with a little bit of a chip on her shoulder. Well, no, she plays with a chip on her shoulder. And I don't know if I've, in 28 years, been around someone that instinctively understands where the ball is going for an offensive rebound. Meg does on a defensive end, and Meg is a great defensive rebounder, and Nadia is really the equal of that on the offensive rebounding side. There's going to be a lot of film that others are going to have to watch because you're going to have to box her out incredibly hard because she's just so good at that. And she's fearless. I mean, that shot that she took, that 3 in the corner, that's a freshman taking a big shot at a big moment, and she knocked it down.
Dan, if you could talk about Gabby in the fourth quarter. She comes in with 4 fouls, and even though it didn't translate into points, she's setting screens for teammates to be open. She's helping the helper defensively. She's making smart decisions. Just how much was that just game awareness, and how did that become contagious across the floor?
The thing with Gab, all the things that you just mentioned, she did well. Didn't shoot it as well today, and that's fine. It'll happen. She had a block or two, but kind of filled the stat sheet. It's the things that aren't on this stat sheet that I want to see better from her. When we're up in a pressure situation and the ball is passed ahead of her, I need her to sprint and get that tip from behind. I'd like to see us trap a little bit more with her play with her instincts a little bit more. I'm not going to be satisfied with what Gabby did today, and she filled a stat sheet, but I think Gabby has more in her, and it's our job to get it out of her, and she wants to get it out of herself. She's going to have a very good year for us, and this is the start of that.
Last week you mentioned with Keandra her ability, her improved three-point ability, and her willingness to take a charge. We saw both those things tonight. How exciting is that for you to see?
She's the queen of the charge. There's nobody that'll, she's really good at it. And to sacrifice your body like that, you can't thank a kid enough to do that. She was 0 for 2 from the, she was 1 for 3 from the 3-point line. But she's worked, again, like a lot of our players, very hard in the summer to improve her 3-point range. And I'm really happy with her taking the shots that she took. And it'll be interesting to see how other people play us, because if you don't guard her at the 3-point line, she's just as good a 3-point shooter as anybody that we have on our team.
You guys played 12 players tonight, and what does that speak to? Because some of them were freshmen, so what does that speak to in terms of the depth, and how encouraging is that to see?
Well, we had one player who was didn't play because of an injury, and she'll be returning, and we had another player who just got cleared in Fatou Sine, who's cleared to play, but needs to pick up some of the schemes a little bit more. When they're ready, we're going to play 14, and that sounds crazy, and it might be crazy, but when you have kids that go, I get 45 seconds like Kelly McConnell, she's going to play with everything that she has for those 45 seconds. And so we're gonna try to play 14. And there'll be games when we'll be able to do that. And there's going to be other games where we're not going to have someone shoot the ball as well, or we're going to have some foul trouble, and we'll have to shorten that. But we're going to play as many kids as we can possibly play to give us a numbers advantage and a freshness advantage. I can't thank you all enough for being here. It's going to be a fun year. Thank you. Thank you for supporting women's basketball.